you to our wonderful panel here and to say welcome to those people who are joining this particular session online. It's fantastic that we are able to provide all of these excellent presentations to so many more people. And I think we're really capturing those opportunities through the last couple of difficult years. So isn't that a good outcome that we can hold on to? So this is the Community Partnerships in Action stream, and it's always fantastic really to be hearing these case studies because they are truly inspiring. And this next one is about the Landcare-led Bushfire Recovery Grants program. It is not. It is enhancing biodiversity in the Namoi Catchment and increasing biodiversity literacy among the community and customers. Ben Bancroft from Landcare Australia will be facilitating this discussion with Fabia Pryor, Country Road, Andrew Watson from Kilmarnock Farming Proprietary Limited, and Stacey Vogel from Cotton Research and Development Corporation. Over to you, Ben.
Thank you very much. Thank you. First thing I'm going to do is stand up. I'm just going to hit go on the slide, and we should start to get those slides go through. The images, there you go. So we've got some lovely images of some of the projects that are facilitated by this partnership. But as introduced, my name's Ben Bancroft. I'm the Partnerships Manager at Landcare Australia, and it's my role within Landcare Australia to work with our various corporate partners and help them execute on their strategy and the projects that they'd like to get involved with. So, as introduced, we have directly to my right here, we have Fabia from Country Road, lovely gentleman in the middle, Andrew, and we have Stacey from the Cotton Research down the end. So today's workshop, today's discussion for the next 20 odd minutes is really about exploring the partnership that Landcare Australia has with Country Road and how that partnership benefits both Country Road, consumer education, but also the restoration of biodiversity and environments within properties across the cotton industry. And just to start, what I wanted to do was share with you just a little bit about the partnership so you've got some context before we start talking. But then I will limit my talking and let our experts here actually share with you their insights around the partnership as well. So the partnership kicked off in 2020. And it's really focused on supporting revegetation on lands within the cotton growing industry. Now, the mechanics of the partnership basically, Country Road, and Fabia will know this much better than I, but Country Road have a heritage sweat range which utilises certified Australian cotton, and sales from that range go to support the partnership. But underlying, over 3 years, Country Road have made a commitment of $600,000 to the partnership, which is fantastic and allows some really great work to occur on the ground. What I'm going to do is, I suppose, first throw to you, Fabia, if that's okay. Would you mind sharing with us a little bit about some of the projects that the partnership facilitates, but also I suppose, where some of those projects are located as well?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Ben. So to begin, I'd like to recognise that we're on Gadigal country and pay my respects to elders past and present, and also recognise any First Peoples who are here today. So like Ben said, we began this project 2 years ago now, October 2020, and we're really focused on the Namoi Valley region of northwest New South Wales. We're focused there based on what's done by Stacey and the CRDC, and I'm sure she'll talk more about it, but very much it has identified that as an area of priority for biodiversity enhancement. The first project, and you'll see as the slides loop some images of these projects. The first project we're working with is the Carls. So the Carls are based in Weewaw, about 2 hours and 20 minutes from Tamworth, and that's a fence and re-veg project. So the Namoi River runs through their property, and we fenced off areas of riverbank to stop cattle from going down to the river, installed an alternate watering point within the paddocks, and planted trees along those riverbanks, so trees, shrubs and grass species. We planted 3,000 there, The second project is with the Watsons, Andrew's family, and he'll tell you more about that very shortly. But it's based on their Boggabri property, planting 3.7 kilometres of tree lines along the banks of the Namoi River there. You will see, as the slides go through, some images of flooding. So very sadly, our first two projects were impacted by flooding in December last year, causing almost complete losses of the plants that were planted at the Watsons and 75 to 85% losses at the Carls. But we have replanted and hope that next time, we're working on a floodplain, so we recognise that there will be flooding in these areas, but hope that next time the seedlings are established enough to withstand floodwaters. We are also looking at projects 3 and 4 that we've just recently kicked off. Now they're based quite close to Andrew's property near Gunnedah, and they're in areas of koala habitat, so there our focus is building up habitat for koalas. One of the properties also has the Namoi River going through their property, and there's a road that goes across that river that's causing an obstruction, so preventing native fish from going up and downstream. And what we're going to do there is raise that to enable a fish passage to be installed so that native fish can swim up and down for feeding and breeding. So we're looking at all of these different properties and hoping that we are achieving 3 things when we look at these. The first is increased habitat for native species, including those that are threatened. The second is improved soil health. And then the third is increasing water quality across river systems.
Look, thank you very much. And I had the honour of actually visiting one of those properties a couple of weeks ago, and it will be a fantastic project once to connect those 2 bits of remnant woodland or remnant forest, if you like, and make that what I like to term the wildlife corridor or highway as the vegetation grows. Andrew, could I throw to you, as your property is one of the properties that's been involved with the partnership, could you share a little bit about your property and possibly why it was really just a natural fit for you to be involved with the project?
Thank you, Ben. Our original property is right at the township of Boggabri, and from the 70s are some of these slides you'll see when they might have stopped rotating. But my parents did a lot of work revegetating the riverbank back in the 70s and early 80s. And what's happened is that's come into fruition as being this habitat resource, I guess, for insects, birds and bats that then we can use tree lines to take them right through the farm. And so where we take that is, how do you measure, is that helping us? And for us, the measurement is how many less insecticide sprays are we doing on all of our crops. Cotton just happens to be one of them. And there's been some significant numbers over the last 17 or 18 years we've been keeping records. So for us, when we bought a property slightly downriver, it was, it's always been the project we had to do, which was to revegetate that riverbank, which had been denuded through prior farming practice. And while we only planted 1,300 trees, we just did it twice. So we almost got to 3,000 like the Carls. It was a bit heartbreaking last November to just have that water there for 12, 14 days and then come again. And when you turned up, they disappeared, absolutely disappeared. Trees that were this high. So that was a bit of a surprise, but having done it again, they're now struggling with the cold winter a bit, but we're keeping work on keeping them going. So again, that'll be the project will be to focus on making that habitat better for that part of the environment, using that as a highway up and down the river, and then we will be planting tree lines to come off from the rivers, or that part of the river, up through the farms to be that highway to bring insects, birds, microbats into our farming system to try and control the pests that actually predate on our crops.
Oh, thank you. I've seen one of the photos of one of the microbats on your property, and not your traditional cute and cuddly, but it's great to know. It's great to know that it's serving an excellent purpose. So, Stacey, could I throw it to you? Because obviously, Andrew's property is just one property in a much larger industry. What's the role of the CRDC in facilitating these projects and connecting industry with, partners like Country Road?
Thanks, Ben. Good morning, everyone. So the role of the Cotton Research Development Corporation is to invest in research, development and extension for improving the Australian cotton industry as well as the wider community. And in 2019, CIDC developed a spatial database that documents the extent and condition of biodiversity in cotton growing areas. And we built on this data set to then look at, for each local government area in cotton growing regions, what are the priority management actions and areas for the restoration and protection of threatened and iconic species. And so that body of work identified 4 priority management actions, which is things that we already knew really around revegetation or restoration, grazing management, weed control and pest control. And so the Country Road Initiative is actually using that research to prioritise where to actually invest for these on-ground works. So we're using the restoration maps and those priority management actions, as Fabia talked about, in terms of revegetation, putting fencing in to get stock off the riverways, so that we can have confidence that the work that our growers are doing are actually leading to environmental benefits for that area. As I mentioned, CIDC also invests in extension, and we are a co-funder of Cotton Info, which is the cotton industry's national extension team. And Cotton Info plays a really important role in the partnership in engaging cotton growers in the projects, as well as extending to our growers, the industry and the wider community about the benefits of improving biodiversity on farms and the benefits that flow on to the farm and the wider community. Cotton Info is also working with Landcare Australia and Country Road to do some long-term monitoring on these sites, on some of the sites that were planted on the initiative, so that we can, as an industry, continue to build our knowledge about what the best management practices are for restoring floodplain environments, which can be pretty challenging environments to restore.
Thank you, thank you. Now, I do want to allow some time at the end if there are any questions, but I suppose just a couple of quick questions from a panel perspective to finish up. Andrew, could I ask you, I suppose, if you were to try and nail it down to one particular point, what at the heart of it, what is it that you see as the long-term benefit for the family property and the business, you know, for the next generation, the next 15, 20 years?
Oh, well, underlying, I think we really need to focus on what we're doing and using resources and also the impact that farming's having on the environment. So every time we can increase all the biodiversity on our farm, of which I regard this as sort of one aspect, because we've got soil biodiversity we've got to manage as well. But it's really important for us in our farming system, what we want to do is to reduce the amount of things like chemistry going into the air and into the soils. So if we can have a natural control of the pests which will predate on our canola, our corn, our cotton, well, that's a fantastic thing. So that's probably the main thing for me, is if we can improve our farming practice to work with nature, that's what we're looking for.
That's fantastic, and I think that's definitely a theme we've heard throughout the conference, you know, in a number of sessions, landholders looking at how they better utilise the resources right across their property from a production point of view, but also from a natural capital point of view. To finish up, Fabia, could I ask you one final question? I think, you know, for me, I spend a lot of my day talking to partners or prospective partners for Landcare Australia. Many in the room and online obviously don't get that chance necessarily to talk to partners. Is this just something that Country Road, you know, is this a marketing exercise? Or is, to be brutally honest, or is there really a deeper purpose for Country Road in getting involved with projects like this?
Yeah, for sure, Ben. So there is definitely deeper purpose here. At Country Road, we really recognise that, and we've heard time and again over the past couple of days, we are in the midst of a biodiversity and climate crisis, and the fashion industry has a key role to play in driving positive change here. From a Country Road lens, we have a sustainability strategy that focuses across 3 key areas. It focuses on positive environmental outcomes, ethical sourcing, and diversity and inclusion. And when we look at that environmental side, we look at biodiversity, we look at climate, we look at circularity and many more. So this is very much the way we do business. We look at our supply chains and look at biodiversity through those. We partner, for example, with Canopy, who is an environmental non-profit, looking at responsible sourcing through cellulose supply chains. When we come back to this partnership, so where we are contributing from a financial perspective, we're contributing from a corporate perspective, but we're also using our verified Australian cotton heritage sweats to contribute. So we're fundraising through those, but it's also definitely a communication channel. So what we want to do is we want to use those products to get people talking and thinking. So they, when we say verified Australian cotton, we work with Oratane, who are a scientific organisation that are focused on traceability, so they can verify that our cotton is from Australian farms. They use fingerprinting to analyse all the cotton growing regions around the world, and they then are able to test the cotton in our products against their fingerprints to say, yes, this is definitely Australian cotton. What we as a brand have a big opportunity to do is we have quite big platforms. We have large social media presence, we have large email presence, and we also can get some pretty good media stories as well. So I think what we have a key role to do is to communicate these great stories. Like the stuff that Andrew talks about in terms of when bats and birds return, they then predate the pests that would otherwise eat his cotton crops, thus enabling him to reduce pesticide use. That's incredible, and they're stories that need to be shared. When we started this project, we started really with a 101. What is biodiversity? Let's share with the community what biodiversity is. And let's also think about how each and every one of us can drive change. So you don't have to be a farmer to drive positive biodiversity outcomes. You can be living in an apartment in the city, you can have a suburban block, you can have land, but really each and every one of us has a role to play. And so very much enabling people, educating and driving that change that way. I think that's a key role we as partners have to play.
That's fantastic, and I think I know we're up against time, and I don't want to intrude on the next presentation. I think to sort of sum up, firstly, thank you guys for joining us here today, and I know we could go on for probably another half an hour talking about this project and some of the benefits. I think one thing I'd encourage anybody in the room, anybody watching online, please jump on the Country Road website, because they've also invested in some digital assets that really profile what they're doing in this space. And I think that's equally important as far as sharing the message and really encouraging, to Fabia's point, you don't have to be out there necessarily hands-on doing something. For many people in the community just outside the door here in Sydney, they can actually make a positive change through their actions. So thank you guys very much. Hopefully if you'll be around for a little while afterwards, if we're out of time for questions, someone in the audience can grab you, have a chat. If there is a quick question, we're probably happy to take it now. I can see some fingers going up in the room, but mindful we don't have a great deal of time, unfortunately. 2 minutes. Okay.
One question from the online community, and it's to you, Fabio. Basically saying it's great that Country Roads has supported the replanting effort after the floods. Many other funding opportunities would not provide extra funds to support that. So recognising that all of us helping a farmer who wants to then replant, that the benefit is for all of us. And so being able to give back like that, so acknowledging that. And the question about how have Country Road customers responded to the project?
Yeah, great question. They love it. I think what we have seen is real growth in understanding, and we know that we get lots of questions about the project. So in store, where are the farms? What else can we do? And when we do tell those stories, like how can I support biodiversity in my backyard? People respond really well, saying, oh, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. So we've been quite focused on giving a few tips and tricks, this is what you could do, join your local Landcare group, etc., etc. And we do see that it sparks some great conversations. So yeah, really well.
One more question, I think, from the floor.
Just to you, Andrew. Counting for Nature's been around a bit at the conference. They're going to give an objective set of environmental accounts that give you basically a biodiversity score. Would that be a positive for you? Would that be a competitive advantage? Would that give you better prices if you took that on and got a better score than the other farms?
I think we've had some discussions on this, and one of the difficulties has been traceability through the cotton system, because essentially we harvest a fibre, but it goes to about 3 or 4 different factories around the world, and traceability's been very difficult. If we could get it to where that traceability works really well, I think that would be an advantage, and I think we'd be focused on things like that.
Fantastic. I'd love to thank the whole panel and the great collaboration between research, the landholder, philanthropy and business. It's a wonderful combination. So thanks everybody for participating.
Thanks.